Based on my audience demographics, it's very likely that you're a person, and I'm willing to bet that you have an interest in luxury watches too. Let's just say I have a knack for these things. But which luxury watch would suit you personally? That entirely depends on what kind of person you are. So let's travel down the not at all questionable world of corporate personality tests and see what watch suits you best. Stay to the end for coffee and donuts, and to gossip about Janet, who didn't show up. According to Mrs. Briggs, who didn't go to school until she was 14, and when she finally did, majored in agriculture, the most advanced species on Earth, inventors of both the Large Hadron Collider and Cheese Whiz, can be categorized into 16 different personality types. Each is broken into 4 sections, with a choice of 2 phenotypes for each section. It goes something like this. Are you introverted or extroverted? Do you sense information based on facts and details, or rely more on intuition? Is your decision-making led by thoughts or feelings? And lastly, do you judge your life by rules and plans, or do you perceive it in a more improvised way? Although this seems as useful as rating dog breeds by shoe size, it's all we've got. So let's start with the first personality type, ISTJ. That is, introversion, sensing, thinking, judging. Someone who is logical, quietly analytical, realistic, and independent. They have a favourite parking spot, like the sound of a good car door, and may or may not grow up to be a serial killer. For this person, I prescribe the most basic of the luxury watch collective. The field watch. It's simple, reserved, quiet, but detailed, doing exactly what a watch needs to do and not much more. The 545-pound Khaki field mechanical from Hamilton at 38mm is the ideal Kickstarter for anyone thinking of building a soundproof basement. Our next personality type is classified as ISFJ, introversion, sensing, feeling, and judging. You can expect this person to be warm and sympathetic, caring and quiet. They donate to charity without bragging about it, never buy and only rescue, and will perpetually be in the friend zone until they die alone and their 10 cats eat their face. For them, something richly detailed but not too showy is just what the doctor ordered, and the perfect watch choice there is the Longines Master Collection 40mm automatic. At first glance, it could be your run-of-the-mill high street Seiko, but when you express your inner ISFJ personality type, you'll appreciate the finer details. The dial in silver is smooth, but lightly textured, almost peach-like, just like the skin of the girl its wearer will never get to touch. Carved from that dial are gleaming markers, sharp like their owner's perception of the world and hollow like their soul. Curved, polished hands and a simple polished case round out this £2,350 gem, with a rather nicely finished 72-hour power reserve ETA caliber fitted in the rear. It won't love you back, but it does look pretty good. Allow me to introduce you please to our next character candidate, the INFJ, a curious combo of introversion, intuition, feeling and judging. Someone who falls into this category is creative yet sensitive, seeks harmony and loves language. They take the things they think seriously, which is why they consider themselves well connected with the universe. They're often to be found barefoot, don't believe in deodorant, and have an alarmingly large crystal collection. That's why I'd pair them with one of the trio of Baltic Prismic stone dials in either green jade, red agate or blue lapis lazuli. Maybe I'd even recommend all 3, so they've always got something to wear no matter what alignment the planets are in. Each vivid stone colour presents a different mood, with the green calming, the red filled with fiery energy, and the blue a reminder to empty out the caravan's chemical toilet. At £1,100, the Prismic stone dial collection presents a great value alternative to other more expensive stone dial watches, with the dial kept clean to let that natural pattern radiate through. Anything more would block the stone's cosmic energy, and that would be a rookie error. A hand-wound caliber keeps its owner in touch with Mother Nature. Our INTJ persona is defined by a more quietly logical approach to match their introversion, intuition, thinking and judging qualities. They're innovative, logical, decisive and determined. They own more than one turtleneck and they like to start sentences with "I hear you." A version 2.0 update to their personality may include the ability to get jokes. It can be no surprise to learn that these folk are attracted to the Germanic mechanic that is Nomos Tangente, a pared back but no less luxurious approach to fine watchmaking. Details may be sparse, but they're executed to perfection, so they're readily available to scrutinize to an unrealistic degree, without them calling their owner a control freak and moving in with their sister. The Tangente 38 is the ideal entry point, this piece of Bauhaus brilliance available from £1,820. There's the monochromatic versions to play it safe with, but then there's also a range of shades to satisfy a deep-seated need to understand colour theory. A sapphire caseback is also available to explore the alpha caliber, although that may be too much overstimulation. For the kind of person who's explored the world, so long as that world is Hyrule, we're classing them as ISTP. That's introversion, sensing, thinking, and perceiving. They're our quiet, analytical types who are curious and adventurous and love to solve problems. Their claims to fame include changing all the backgrounds on the locked school PCs and completing a no-hit run of the entire Dark Souls series. For them who seek a new challenge, I give the Studio Underdog Salmon, a classic chronograph with a fishy twist. Gone is the fresh flesh of a red and green watermelon, gone is the metallic kaleidoscope of the seagull caliber, and taking their place is a new duo of the salmon dial and Swiss-made Salita. But this is no ordinary salmon dial, still skin on for the most part, crispy and thin. It's the kind of detail our ISTP wants to talk at length on the internet about. For £1,700 they can enjoy this aquatic addition to Studio Underdog's lineup. Say hello to the ISFP persona, who's combining introversion, sensing, feeling, and perceiving into a combo of gentle caring, modest compassion, observant loyalty, and a whole dollop of patience. They're the designated driver. Again, they're always available when you call. They're the best friend you could have, and they will be until the day you die. They do so much for so little in return, and that's why I say Christopher Ward is the right brand for them, bringing a slice of upper-crust luxury at a low cost in the integrated exterior of the 12. Starting at just £850, the 12 feels like the kind of one-sided relationship its wearer often finds itself in, only this time they're the beneficiary. The textured dial and Swiss caliber are overly generous and more than the price point deserves, and yet you won't hear a single word of complaint from Christopher. We're venturing deep into our feelings to identify with the INFP crowd, the introversion, intuition, feeling, perceiving subset of humanity who value compassion, creativity, harmony, and empathy above all else. They've got 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, they've almost finished their novel, and they're the only sibling who still speaks to mum at least once a week. For them, I propose the Atelier Wen Perception, and not in standard form, but touched by the creative mind of Seconde, who brought back to life the once abandoned guilloche dials that didn't quite make the grade. Whether the quality wasn't top-notch, or they only took 35 hours to make and not 36, these clipped rejects have been literally stitched back together for a new lease of life. That's at least an album's worth of lyrical inspiration. Our introversion, intuition, thinking, perceiving INTPs are all about the data. They're analytical, but also conceptual, intellectually curious, and love new ideas. These are the only people who, actually understand blockchain. They've got a 500-day streak on Wordle, and they accidentally learnt Japanese. They're part of a select few who actually appreciate the allure of the Seiko Presage Pure White Enamel, a £1,290 amalgamation of purity and artistry, with a 3-day movement and that distinctly Japanese aesthetic, complete with a bright white enamel dial. This Seiko is a place to meditate and reset the mind, ready for a whole new batch of ideas. In 40.2mm of steel, 12.1mm thick, it's not exactly the most flashy or exciting watch, but it is rich with well-executed detail that's the perfect brain food for an analytical, curious mind. Just try not to get cornered by them, because they will chew your ear off about that enamel for a good half an hour or so at least. We're moving into our outgoing crowd now, starting with ESTP, extroversion, sensing, thinking, perceiving, a person defined by an excitement-seeking attitude, underlined by a direct but easygoing demeanour. They've been to just about any place you can think of, and there isn't a tool on the planet they don't have to lend you. They've also got a scar on their arm and they don't remember how they got it. For them, they want adventure but don't want to go too mad. They've got a meeting Monday first thing after all, and so they'll be happy to wear a Lorca Model No1 GMT, the 60s style adventurer's watch with a difference. Straying away from the crowds of Rolex style dials, the Lorca brings a different take to every pilot's favourite complication. You won't find knockoff versions of these on sale at crowded tourist spots, and you won't find their owners there either. For £1,362, the pragmatic side is fulfilled by the Soprod C125R4 caliber, whilst the part wired to wonder what's behind the door marked "No Entry" will enjoy the long markers and Dauphine hands. At 37mm including the bezel, it's not a wild choice, but it is in its own way still a little bit unexpected. Let's bring some more feeling into the equation for our ESFP, whose extroversion, sensing, feeling and perceiving personality sees fit to render them an energetic and sociable kind who's generous and fun-loving. Any watch they buy will be competing for space with an enormous teddy bear collection. Somehow everyone you meet knows them. They have, or at some point will have, blue hair. They're basically looking for the same as the last guy, but with a bit more something. They'd look at the Lorca and yawn, but with the fairer GMT Lander, they're feeling right at home. It's a 39.5mm steel watch with a Sellita GMT caliber, decked out in a colour palette directed by Michael Bay, fitted with a choice of plush straps, including a sea green suede to match that glistening dial. It's not just ready for a bit of spontaneous fun, it also matches their new do. There aren't enough good things to be said about the ENFP type. Extroversion, intuition, feeling and perceiving doesn't quite capture how warm and enthusiastic they are, regardless of the situation. They were a puppy in a former life and haven't quite got over it yet. They're somehow both a morning person and an evening person, and they're always bringing chocolates to the office. Literally everyone likes them. It's impossible not to. That's why they get the Oris Big Crown pointed date, in bronze specifically. At £2,400, it may not be the cheapest choice, and with just 50 metres of water resistance, it's not the most practical choice either. But regardless, you just can't hate on it. It's the watch you want to buy one of, and then the rest because you feel bad yours might get lonely and the others will miss it. And if you get the full bronze bracelet, it will, like the person it's most suited to, leave an impression on everyone it touches. As we stray closer to the maddest and most outgoing corner of our personality pile, we come across the ENTP, who blend extroversion, intuition, thinking and perceiving together to form a person with plenty of energy yet a theoretical mind, who's looking for their next idea and will go anywhere to get it. This person, ladies and gentlemen, is our Einstein. They're nuts, but at least they're putting it to good use. There's half a motorbike in their bathtub. They barely ever complete a thought without interrupting it with a new one, and their kitchen table is piled up with unpaid bills. For them, there can only be one choice, one that expands its horizons as far as they do, the Spaceone Tellurium. For the person who can't even contain their own mind, a watch that encapsulates the solar system, well, the important bits at least, is just about ideal. We're talking about someone who probably prefers referencing time based on the lunar alignment with the sun anyway, since they're waiting on the next eclipse to test out a shrink ray they've just developed. It's £2,500 of grade 5 titanium goodness. You'll know an ESTJ when you see them. Extroversion, sensing, thinking and judging make for a potent combo of assertive, decisive leadership. This is a person that, if they want a Daytona, they get it. It just happens. They're often heard saying things like, "I got this," and "I'll take over from here," and other sentences starting with "I." Before that Daytona budget inevitably comes through, I'd recommend them looking at something as forthright as they are, the Tudor Black Bay. Not in the 58 spec, not with red coloration, a black on black Tudor Black Bay. It's a watch, a tough one, and it's no nonsense, with 200 meters of water resistance and a bracelet made to fit any wearer with its T-Fit micro adjustment. It's absolutely built to be worn on a wrist that's subjected to a lot of finger pointing and especially finger wagging. £3,910 is what's needed for this level of assertiveness. Bringing it to our ESFJs is extroversion, sensing, feeling and judging, making for a far warmer version of the person we just met, someone who brings harmony to the social group with a practical yet conscientious touch. Their door is always open no matter what, but it is a shoes-off household, and they're very vocal about the health benefits of mineral water and intermittent fasting. They may or may not be in a cult, but at least it's probably one of the nicer ones. They're going a little off-piste with a fine slice of watchmaking from Louis Erard, in conjunction with German watchmaking wizards Kudoke. This is the £3,600 Le Régulateur, and it's the sensible way to get a high horology fix without cancelling college for the kids. A 42mm steel case holds Kudoke's trademark high-fidelity dial, rich in colour and bursting with contrast. It's ever-present and always wonderful, even on the cloudiest of days. A Kudoke would be better, but that would be uncharacteristically irresponsible. For our ENFJ, whose extroversion, intuition, feeling and judging bring them good vibes that permeate throughout a crowd, it's all about possibility, but in a conscientious and considered way. No man gets left behind on their adventures as they rise to the challenge of apologising on the behalf of as many people as possible. You could tell them they stole your trousers and they'd take them off and hand them over, and be happy to cooperate too. Being mean to them just feels like slapping a kitten. They do so much to make you pleased with them that it stands to reason that Tissot's PRX is the ideal choice. It apologises on behalf of a greedy industry and sets the record straight by offering a wonderful take on that integrated shape for a budget almost anyone can make. It's the good guy grail of the Swiss watch industry, and it'll even offer you carbon fibre if it's asked. Starting at just £315, it's doing you a solid and expects nothing back in return. We round out the group with the ENTJ, cramming extroversion, intuition, thinking and judging all into one very organised package. Fun, they believe, is best served with the proper organisation. Spontaneity is the work of the devil. Emotion is entirely optional and ideally discouraged. Through critical assertion and systematic logic, the ENTJ has determined that the £1,200 Junghans Max Bill Automatic is the perfect watch. It does not care for design, yet is the most optimised a design can be. It does not try hard to cater for situations in which it will not find itself, so it is composed of a balance of specification ideally suited to the fundamental use case it exists for. Their owners know they won't climb rocks or dive deep, so the minimal water resistance and slender case are nominal. Perhaps the only time they might find themselves wanting are the darkest winter days when the light is suboptimal. And remember, whatever personality type you are, one thing always rings true. There's no better watch than the one you want next. See you next time.